They told us spending would go down. They promised efficiency. They swore the budget would finally make sense. But this year, the U.S. federal government is spending $154 billion more than last year, despite efforts to cut back. So what's really going on behind the scenes? And more importantly, who's truly responsible for America's growing financial burden? Welcome to TVAI, your source for real stories, global context, and the hidden truth behind political promises. Let's dive in. Federal spending in the United States has reached historic highs under both the Trump and Biden administrations. But now, despite headlines about Trump's Deficit Optimization Governance Executive, or DOGE for short, spending continues to climb. Critics from both sides of the aisle are beginning to ask the same question. Is this sustainable? At first glance, the numbers are startling. Trump's team touts the DOGE initiative as a revolutionary framework to identify and eliminate wasteful government programs. They've claimed to save hundreds of billions through efficiency measures, renegotiated contracts, and cuts to bureaucratic overhead. And yet, when we compare the federal expenditure line by line, we find that in fiscal year 2025, total spending has increased by over $150 billion compared to Biden's last year in office. So where is the money going? For starters, defense. Military spending continues to rise, fueled by escalating tensions abroad, new tech investments, and expanded operations in the Indo-Pacific. While Trump's narrative often focuses on cutting foreign aid, those savings are minuscule compared to the ballooning Pentagon budget. Social programs, too, remain untouched in large part. Medicare and Social Security, politically untouchable due to their popularity, continue to absorb massive portions of the federal budget. Even as Trump pushes for entitlement reform, opposition in Congress stalls every proposal. Meanwhile, interest payments on the national debt have become the third largest budget item. With the debt now exceeding $34 trillion and interest rates high, the Utes government is paying nearly $1 trillion annually just to service that debt. In short, America is borrowing more and spending more, even under a president who promises to spend less. But let's take a closer look at the markets. Wall Street is nervous. While corporate tax rates remain stable, investors are watching two things: rising bond yields, driven by the Treasury's need to borrow more, and political volatility, as Congress continues to fight over the debt ceiling and spending priorities. The yield on the 10-year U.S. Treasury note, considered the safest investment in the world, has climbed above 4.6%, its highest in over a decade. That's good for investors, but bad for the government. Because every percentage point increase in interest makes debt service dramatically more expensive. It's a cycle. More debt leads to higher rates, which makes debt even more expensive, which leads to more borrowing and even higher rates. This is what economists call a debt spiral. And many fear the U.S. is on the edge of it. Meanwhile, the Democratic Party isn't staying silent. Top Democrats accuse the Trump administration of window dressing its budget claims. They argue that DOGE savings are exaggerated and that many of the claimed cuts are not actual spending reductions, but mere delays or reclassifications. Senator Elizabeth Warren called DOGE a PR machine dressed up as reform. She points out that even while international aid is being slashed, the Department of Defense received a 9% funding increase, totaling over $950 billion, nearly $1 trillion. She's not alone. Independent analysts at the Congressional Budget Office, CBO, have warned that even the most aggressive spending cuts would not stop the rising debt unless new revenue sources like higher taxes are also introduced. But that's political suicide. Trump won't raise taxes. Biden tried with the billionaire tax and failed. And Congress is deadlocked. So the U.S. keeps borrowing. And the bill keeps growing. Let's talk about the global impact. Nations like China, Japan, and Saudi Arabia, who traditionally hold massive amounts of U.S. debt, are starting to diversify their holdings. China has reduced its U.S. Treasury holdings by over $300 billion in the last 5 years. Not because it's at war with America, but because it's hedging its bets. If confidence in the U.S. dollar ever slips significantly, it could trigger a global currency realignment, a shift away from the dollar as the world's primary reserve. That would change everything. Imports would become more expensive. Foreign investment would dry up. Inflation could rise fast. And the U.S. economy would become a source of global risk. Here's what you might not hear on mainstream news. This isn't just a spending issue. It's a governance issue. The inability of both parties to work together on long-term solutions is slowly eroding the very foundation of American economic leadership. Yes, DOGE is innovative. Yes, Biden's policies had short-term stimulus benefits. But neither approach addresses the elephant in the room. America is living beyond its means. Social Security, by current estimates, will run out of trust fund reserves by 2033. Medicare will follow soon after. And interest on debt could exceed defense spending by 2027. So what happens then? Do we raise the retirement age? Cut benefits? Tax the wealthy? Or print more money? Each choice comes with pain. And no politician wants to be the one holding the knife. Let's put this into human terms. Imagine your household earns $50,000 a year. But you spend $70,000. And you've been doing that for 30 years. Your credit card bill is growing. And now, just paying the minimum interest takes up nearly 20% of your income. At some point, no amount of cutting Netflix subscriptions will fix the hole. You'd need a second job. Or a serious lifestyle change. America is in the same spot. And unless bold action is taken soon, the next generation may inherit not opportunity, but obligation. So, is DOGE the solution? Or just another chapter in America's long history of budget theater? And will Trump's bold cost-cutting vision actually produce long-term results? Or will future leaders look back on this era and say, they knew the problem but chose not to fix it? Was it Trump's spending, Biden's legacy, or a broken system that got us here? And more importantly, what's the way out? Because the truth is, no president, Republican or Democrat, can govern in a vacuum. Every policy, every dollar spent, every promise made is filtered through a labyrinth of bureaucracy, political compromise, and institutional inertia. Trump may champion fiscal discipline, and Biden may have sought expansive recovery spending. But both are playing chess on a board that's already set. The rules were written decades ago. The players come and go. But the deficit remains. And in the end, it's the American people who foot the bill. Families trying to make ends meet, small business owners adjusting to new tax codes, veterans waiting on underfunded care. These are the quiet casualties of a broken budget process. If we truly want change, it won't come from slogans or acronyms. It will come from courage, political, economic, and civic. Courage to face hard truths. Courage to speak honestly about sacrifice. And courage to imagine a future where sustainability isn't just a talking point, but a national priority. Until then, the headlines will keep coming. The numbers will keep rising. And the question will remain, what will it take for America to change course?